Let me explain just how cruel Lisa the Painful is. Not only does its gameplay and story give you pushback and ridicule at every turn, it exacerbates it by not even giving you a shoulder to cry on. And this is established very early on, where after the main character is subject to the anger of his classmates, he comes home not to the comfort and reassurance of his parents, but to the wrath. Lisa the Painful chronicles the story of a man named Brad, who is coming to terms with the troubles of his past and familial issues. The story starts in a normal setting, but skips ahead many years after the first scene. The world has lived through an event known as the Flash, a great wall of light that envelops the world many years ago and left a strong mark on the countryside, not only destroying lots of plant life and architecture, but completely removing all women from the world. And while that might sound great at first, it comes with some very predictable downsides. Population is obviously a concern. With no humans on the way, every man that doesn't make it to tomorrow is one less person that humanity can never get back. Even without a bleak world like this, the main character would not be in the best state of mind. Having been the brunt of his dad's treatment, Brad is now infatuated with a product called joy, which makes him feel nothing and allows him to cope with what he's been through. Something really curious happens though, since one day while carrying about his business, he happens across a baby, stranded all alone. He holds it close and is immediately driven to protect it. The world of Olathe doesn't have much kids on account of how long ago the Flash was, so this is a big discovery to say the least. Brad brings the baby back to his friends at home, and it's revealed that the baby he's holding is a girl. The group contemplates taking her to Rando, the leader of a mercenary group, as he has the means to protect someone so important. But Brad does not see it this way. There are obvious risks with letting people know about her existence. The group agrees to keep her a secret, and besides, for Brad, this is a chance to right a wrong from many years ago. We get a montage of Brad's newfound daughter, whom he's come to name Buddy, growing up in her new environment. His friends build a basement for her, and there's some cute moments like this one where she applies lipstick to Brad, which he tolerates just for her. She'll never really know what normal is, so little moments like this are the least he can do. Raising a child isn't the only thing weighing on Brad's mind though. Visions of his father pollute his mind, and joy is an ever-present temptation. In a moment of weakness, he takes some and passes out. What Brad sees that next day is one of the scariest things a father can imagine. But before that, we get a taste of this game's combat for the very first time. A man is stuck in a tree because of a dog, and we're forced to do battle with it. As if this game couldn't come off as any more crass, the first thing we have to fight is a dog. Fantastic. An area where Lisa ended up really surprising me was with its gameplay. Of every RPG Maker game I've covered on this channel, Lisa the Painful is easily the strongest and most fun gameplay-wise. You won't notice in this exact scene, of course, because things start off rather simple, but as you gain more party members, it really comes into its own, and not for the reasons you think. I've become very used to battles in these RPG Maker stories being afterthoughts from the developers that are just there as a vessel to tell the story, but Lisa is not one of those games, not by a country mile. It's not going to win any awards for originality in its turn-based mechanics, but that combat is bolstered by the one thing that Lisa has in spades that I mentioned earlier: cruelty. Nothing is given to you in this world, and things you take for granted in other RPGs come with some huge drawbacks here. Like an Omori Discord server, the world of Lisa the Painful is an unforgiving and loveless wasteland that has no interest in providing a measured and welcoming experience, both for the player and Brad. Combat may not be the most sophisticated thing in the world here, but when measured against the resources you have to ration, you'll find yourself making interesting decisions, such as whether it's best to avoid a battle in the first place. Not only are health and revive items scarce, but the mere act of resting at a campfire to fully heal is a risk, as there's a chance you can lose money, items, or even party members. Enemies can jump out from behind walls or caves and just attack you. Trying to reason your way out of these situations often ends with things just being made worse. If someone has a friend of yours captive, it's best to just give them what they want, rather than be a hero. In one instance, I tried to defeat a bunch of bad guys that were holding a party member of mine, but initiating the fight causes them to just off him before the battle even starts. You have to carefully consider when it's okay to rest by a fire, use a revive item, or use anything that heals a lot of your health. This scarcity of resources and the abundance of awful situations the game is constantly throwing at you indirectly makes combat more meaningful, in that it's not beneficial to always dump your best skills in every encounter because you know the risks that come with resting to get all your health and SP back, or how much those healing items will cost when you could have just avoided a battle altogether. Buddy is gone. The vague sense of normalcy Brad had cultivated over some years is completely gone now, and the man you had rescued earlier, Terry, agrees to join you. The game celebrates this with a very flattering party join sound. Brad explains the situation before agreeing to Terry's help, but is careful not to reveal the gender of the person they're trying to save. There aren't much random encounters in Lisa the Painful, by the way. Most of your fights will be initiated because the person you have to battle is blocking your path. Brad and Terry see the trail of destruction that has come with Buddy's existence being found out. People are sprawled across totaled cars and heaps of bodies. This world does not have the foresight and sophistication to handle these circumstances. It's hard to tell whether anyone would want Buddy for the good of the human population or for something far more sinister and selfish. Brad is hit by a careless driver, which is confusing at first since women are long gone. He wakes up to the most menacing villain introduction in any video game. This is Chris Colombo, who had first appeared in the game's opening scene, beating up Brad. The apocalyptic circumstances have not changed their dynamic, though. If anything, it's made things worse. He offers you a tough choice: relinquish all of your possessions, or off Terry. I chose to keep Terry alive at this point in the game, as we don't have much resources anyway, and having a second party member is pretty invaluable. Progressing to the next screen, something happens that causes me to audibly laugh, as it genuinely caught me off guard. Lisa finds a couple of ways to get away with being unfair. Not all of them are for the better, but sometimes the game is just so hilarious that you find it easy to forgive. Measuring it against a list of rules that say what good game design is, stuff like this would easily dock points from it, but Lisa's departure from those rules is partially why it's so great. Brad and Terry rummage through a nearby village. After stepping outside one of the houses, the baby we see in this vision is Brad's sister and the game's namesake, Lisa. Unsurprisingly, Brad's father, Marty, had no interest in raising her properly. At some point, he pawned the responsibility off on his own son. The vision ends, and it isn't long before we come across Nern, who, if you've seen Donkey's video on Lisa, you'll know all too well likes to talk a lot. It's even worse in the definitive edition of the game that released recently. That version adds campfire chats for your party members, and Nern's can take upwards of 20 minutes, depending on how fast you read. Tunneling through a cave, we come across a man overseeing a group of kids. Brad asks him if he's seen Buddy, and he says no. One of them lights a match, and the man asks us to use a bucket of water to extinguish the flame. Okay. That was my gasoline bucket. That bucket over there. I'll do what I can do. It's not often that a game can so effortlessly switch between brooding, somber moments and straight-up dark comedy, but Lisa does this so well that it makes it look easy, even though it's a method of storytelling that can very easily feel unnatural. After that, we get a refreshing change of environmental scenery and are wandering through some tall grass. At the end of it all, we find Charmy, a human being who has completely transformed on account of taking too much joy. The battle music here is absolutely haunting and immediately sets a really eerie tone for the rest of the fight. Defeating Charmy grants us the bike, which is awesome as it allows us to not only travel faster, but hop over gaps. Lisa isn't a Metroidvania or anything, but borrowing from that genre just a little bit does give us that age-old excitement of returning to previous areas to do things we couldn't before. After getting the bike, we head to Factory Road, which we can now transverse fully. You'll have to mind the barrel enemies while you do so, though. It's around this time that you'll also be treated to another flashback sequence detailing Brad and his friend Rick. I really like this scene. It so quickly gives us a glimpse into how dysfunctional this family is. Rick and Shelley exchange dialogue so charged that it gives the awkward dinner scene from Breaking Bad a run for its money. Everything is made worse by the fact that Rick's son is obviously not his biological child, implying an affair. It's all great writing 101 and gives us the idea of the background that Brad's friends came from before the Flash. Rick ruminates with Brad outside his house and expresses some jealousy. Brad's not as tied down as Rick is, and has a fulfilling job as a martial arts instructor. That explains the stuff he's pulling in the turn-based battles, I suppose. Rick explains that he's not stupid, and that his child is, as he puts it, a whole other story. Brad informs Rick that his jealousy is misplaced and that he doesn't know everything about him. Brad's vision flashes red to reveal a child standing before him, begrudgingly reminding him of a past mistake he's yet to remedy. After some hijinks in the factory and fighting off some muggers, Brad wanders across the wasteland and actually does come across Rick, but something is not right. Brad tackles Rick and demands answers. Why is he being aloof and avoiding him? We start to see the hole in Brad's logic, and as a result, his entire framing of what's going on. Rick explains that Brad's insistence on taking care of Buddy is irresponsible, that he's prioritizing his own need for redemption over preserving humanity. Honestly, he makes some good points. Sure, it's hard to think of a way something like repopulation could be conducted safely in this world, but with the way Brad's going about things, there's no chance of it happening at all. Brad's pent-up guilt shouldn't mean that the rest of the world should be doomed to die out. Don't worry, we'll find out exactly what that pent-up guilt is soon enough. Brad wants answers and he's determined to get them, but he stands his ground, which was not a wise choice on his part.